This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
Watching everything you've worked so hard to earn and save fall in the way that you do not want it to, the direction you don't want it to. That's not an idea. That's not anybody's idea of a good time.
It's just a normal week, with this administration.
Lately.
I mean, it's like, hey, 25, 30, 35, 40 years of working and hookah, one
Poof.
tweet. They don't even call them tweets anymore, right?
Yeah.
One X or Trump social, Truth Social about tariffs, and then boom, market implosion.
Boom. That's it.
It's like, oh, man, come on.
So what we like to do here in these conversations, I'm Heather Branch. This is Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital, financial advisor, retirement planner, here to share with you ideas and insight on things you can be working on. What we like to do here in these conversations is offer I like to think that we go as neutral as possible, just on stats, facts, and information, and then give people some opportunity for solutions, ideas, things to work on. Because one thing that you are constantly reminding people of, Jon, and I love this about you, is you're like, there is always opportunity. I do not care what is going on. There is always something that you can be doing, an opportunity that you can be seeking, no matter what the economic climate is. And
always. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Chinese symbol, and maybe we're not supposed to talk about Chinese symbols these days.
You said
but
it.
If you look at the Chinese symbol that stands for crisis, it is literally the exact same symbol that stands for opportunity.
Okay.
So, whenever something weird happens, there is usually a counter event that could create an opportunity. And we just have to have our eyes open enough, and we have to, have some protections in place so we can be confident. Take advantage of that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Those are the things that really kind of make so much of these things exciting if, we have a careful eye.
Careful eye, also an opportunistic eye. And market strategist Ken Parkari, he agrees with your perspective, Jon. He was telling Fox Business that down markets come with opportunity. Here's what he said.
This pullback is actually very healthy. It's long overdue. It feels certainly uncomfortable, but in times like this is when, as a long-term investor, you really need to kind of really take out your shopping list. This is very active individual stock management, right? You want to pick up names that are on sale, really good names, top of the line, the largest mega cap names in the industries that you want that are really on sale, because this too shall pass. But I do think there's going to be a little bit more churn lower.
Okay, this too shall pass, but he was talking about what things are on sale, because we have seen some uptick from the lows that we saw right after the initial news of the Trump tariff plan.
Sure.
So is there still good opportunity? What are we looking for as far as strategy to balance things like, one, seeking opportunity in current economic climates, but also the long game that's involved in all of this?
Yeah, so if you kind of look at things in general right now, I mean, there's still a little bit of room to go down. The markets are off their current lows, but there is really a lot of uncertainty out there. As a matter of fact, if you pull up the CNN Fear and Greed Index, we are hovering around some of the most uncertain, most fearful numbers we've actually seen. I pulled it up the other day, and it goes from 0 to 100. 0 is like the most cynical, the most stricken people you could be, and 100 is unbelievably greed-oriented. We were at a 5, a 5, which means that unbelievable extreme fear. Now, why is that? Well, our market-moving averages have taken off a cliff. If you look at people, the flight to safety, a lot of institutions have done that. When you look at that first major pullback, the day that the market was down 5 or 6%, it was a week or two ago now, looking at that, it blew out almost all of the leverage for the majority of hedge funds in the United States. What that means is that there is a tremendous amount of liquidity out there, but no one wants to buy yet. Now, how long could this last? Well, if you look at the standard bull market versus bear market, this could last anywhere between 6 months to 18 months. We don't know, right? Now, I do know one thing. The more that we keep talking about tariffs, because the tariffs are a means, right? So if you ever listened to or ever read Machiavelli, The Prince, it was basically how a warlord, if you will, a medieval warlord got his way. And his whole point was the end, what you want to accomplish at the end justifies the means. The problem is the current administration just keeps talking about the means, the tariffs. What is going to be the ultimate good stuff that comes out of this? No one is really talking about that, to the point where the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, is out there saying, hey, remember, we really just want everyone to negotiate and play nice. No one really wants a trade war. We just want to be, the president just wants us to be treated fairly because we've been treated unfairly for a while, la, 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 la. That, the market doesn't like that. We don't like it at all. And there's a big reason why. So if you look at major downturns, so right now the market is underwater for the year. 2022 is an underwater year. We had a couple good years. We don't know yet what's going to happen. But why are we talking about this right now? Because if you lose money in the first year or two of your retirement. So if you retired in 2022, that was kind of an ugly year. So you got back some gains maybe in 23 and 24, and here we are again. Another bad year. If you lose money in the market the first couple years of retirement, your chances of running out increase 600%, 6 times. You are 6 times more likely to run out of money if you have a downturn in the first couple years of retirement. So if you didn't retire in 2022, you're thinking about it this year, next year, sometime soon, or you just retired last year, you're looking at that. Guys, those are unfortunately not very good statistics. Now, does that mean you're going to run out of money? Probably not. But you want to make sure that you put some things in place. Now, why is it that we are so much more likely to run out of money if the market goes down? Well, it's called sequence of return risk. Mm-hmm. If you have a major negative in the beginning, not all of a sudden, let's say you had $1 million. Now you've got 850,000. That was just a 15% hit. Yeah. At one point, the market was down more than that this year. Who knows where it's going to end up? But if you lose that 15% and then you pulled out money to live off of, let's say you wanted to pull out 4%. Well, now you're going to be down to $820,000. Now, you have to come back over 23% just to get back to even. But then what happens when you get back to even? You still need to pull money out. So unfortunately, that sequence of return is critical for the first 5 years of retirement. This is why there are some strategies we can use. The biggest one is called bucketing. We want to have different buckets of money that do different things for us. The first bucket is money that we want to make certain, hey, come heck or high water, I've got at least 1 full year's worth of income sitting over here. I know I'm not going to make a fortune on it. But hey, guys, right now, money markets are still paying 4%, so it's not killing you. Is that keeping up with inflation? Well, it's not perfect. But the point is that for the next year, you do not have to pull from stocks that are beaten up or bonds that are beaten up. You got cash for a full year. So that's bucket number one. Okay. And you want to make sure you also have not just that income for a year, but any kind of emergencies. What if you need new tires in the car? Okay. You know that hot water heater, which is going to cost you $3,000, it's on its last leg. Yeah. You know that. Yeah. Or that there's some mildew or mold under that carpet. You're going to have to recarpet. Those are the other things you want in that first bucket. That's bucket number one. Bucket number two is our income bucket. Okay. That is the bucket that we need to churn out an income. You can use dividend paying stocks. You can use annuities. You can use bonds that are paying interest. You can use treasuries. You can use anything within reason that has a conservative bent. In that bucket, I prefer investments that cannot lose principal. Okay. They could fluctuate, but I prefer them to at least be secured against loss or fully insured. So this is where I like treasuries. I like insured bonds. I like insured accounts. I like insured indexing type accounts. I like things that are very, very, very conservative because as we know that thing is generating income every year, we know it can replenish that first bucket that we're gonna spend that money. Okay. We know it. So if we do that, your chances of running out of money get really slim out of the gate because we know that we can sustain your income, right? And the only reason people are worried about running out of money is because they don't know where the income's going to come from, right? Yeah. So unless you want to go back to work or you have a whole bunch of Airbnbs or you can rent out your lake house or you want to do part-time job stuff, then you're going to have something that's going to feed your income needs other than Social Security, or if you're lucky enough to have a pension, that's awesome, right? But we need something to feed that beast. So that's the second bucket. That is the bucket that I find most people do not have correctly done. They say, well, I've got this big old portfolio, John. I got all these things. I got small cap, mid cap, large cap, bonds, treasuries, but they haven't compartmentalized them into specific buckets that you know what they're for. Okay. That middle bucket is doing one thing, protecting my assets and generating an income, period. That's all it's meant to do.
Okay.
Now that third bucket, and most of us, we need 3 total buckets. That third bucket, and this is where most people have their stuff, would be like your growth-oriented investments. I know that Ken Paul Carey was just talking about, hey, you might want to find those great tech companies. If you like Microsoft and it's all beaten up, or you like Tesla and it's way, for sale right now, or you like Meta or whatever it is. Yeah. If you like those, that's the bucket that those are for, the things that long run we expect to grow. But we don't want to pull from those assets when they get punched in the mouth, like recently. Big tech may have some problems if these tariffs persist and or if China decides that they're not going to be bullied any longer, right? Mm-hmm. We've already seen that they could be releasing and selling some of our treasuries on the open market. It caused rates to spike. Guys, that's not good. This is where a trade war becomes an all-out hot war, where all of a sudden we're doing major damage to each other's economies to where we decide, hey, we're going to get boots on the ground. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but is that a possibility? Well, who knows what
Anything's
can happen,
possible,
right?
Yeah.
Anything could, and we want to be prepared for that. So the bucketing style, as simple as it seems, is one of those things that can protect us. We know we're going to have income for the next full year, so we got a little bit of wiggle room. Yep. We know that middle bucket is created specifically to make an income for us. And that last bucket, the one that's for growth, realistically, if we do our job right, we may not even need to touch that bucket for 15, 20, 25 years. That is a long time for us to not have to worry about tariffs, not have to worry about trade wars, not have to worry about China, hopefully, in the long run. That's the money that's built to grow. So done correctly with a 3-bucketing approach, the now bucket, the soon income bucket, and the later growth bucket, if we do that correctly, we can every single night go to sleep without clammy hands and wondering if we're going to need to change our underoos in the middle of the night. We can have confidence, but we got to make sure that we're doing it correctly based on a 4-letter word, math.
Ew. How dare you?
I know. How dirty is that?
You, sir?
John, you're not supposed to talk dirty about that on the internet. You're not supposed to talk dirty like that. Well, it's true.
Who knew that planning for your future just required a few buckets?
I know. Elegant simplicity. Elegant simplicity.
That's it. Doesn't have to be complicated. It's not necessarily easy, but it is simple. And when it comes to figuring out how to, quote unquote, bucket your money, at J. Hagan Capital, this is what they are here to help you figure out. So let's get to work helping you apply this bucketing system to the financial plan for your immediate, your soon-to-be future, and your growth for the years ahead. This is all the effort that goes into every plan they create at J. Hagan Capital, which they can create for you as well. RetirementSolutionShow.com is our website and where to start this conversation with Jon and his team at J. Hagan Capital. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there. Let's get to work bucketing your money. Again, it's RetirementSolutionShow.com.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with Jon Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with Jon and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting RetirementSolutionRadio.com. Be sure to listen to Jon's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through J. Hagan Capital, LLC, NPN number 188279094.